Today we have the sixth and final section of the CompTIA Security Plus SYO-701 exam prep practice quiz. This is going to go over the acronyms, which is all the way down at the bottom. There's a lot of acronyms in here though, so it's going to be a long video today. So it starts here, pages after pages after pages of acronyms. So much fun, so exciting. So without further ado, let's get it started. First question, what does AAA stand for in the context of security? Access Authorization and Auditing, Accountability Authentication and Auditing, Authentication Authorization and Accounting, or Authentication Access and Auditing. What does AAA stand for in the context of security? Correct answer is Authentication, Authorization, and Accounting. What is the meaning of ACL in security terminology? Access Code List, Access Control List, Authorization Control List, or Authenticated Command List? The meaning of ACL. Correct answer is Access Control List. What does AES stand for in cryptography? Automated Encryption System, Asymmetric Encryption Standard, Advanced Encipherment Standard, or Advanced Encryption Standard? What does AES stand for in cryptography? Correct answer is Advanced Encryption Standard. What is represented by AES 256 in encryption standards? Advanced Encryption Standard 256-bit, Advanced Encryption Scheme 256-bit, Authenticated Encryption Standard 256-bit, or Asymmetric Encryption Standard 256-bit? What does AES 256 mean? Correct answer is Advanced Encryption Standard 256-bit. In network security, what does AH stand for? Authenticated Handshake, Authentication Header, Authorization Header, or Access Header? In network security, what does AH stand for? Correct answer is Authentication Header. Which of the following correctly defines AI in modern technology? Automated interaction, algorithmic interaction, analytical implementation, or artificial intelligence? Which of the following correctly defines AI in modern technology? Correct answer is artificial intelligence. What does AIS stand for in the context of cybersecurity threat sharing? Advanced Intrusion Sharing, Authenticated Indicator System, Automated Indicator Sharing, or Automated Intrusion Sharing? What does AIS stand for in the context of cybersecurity threat sharing? Correct answer is Automated Indicator Sharing. What does ALE represent when assessing potential security risks? Annualized Loss Expectancy, Average Loss Estimation, Annualized Liability Evaluation, or Actual Loss Expectation? What does ALE represent when assessing potential security risks? Correct answer is Annualized Loss Expectancy. In wireless networking, what does AP commonly refer to? Authorized Port, Access Point, Application Portal, or Access Protocol? In wireless networking, what does AP commonly refer to? Correct answer is access point. What does API stand for in software development? Application Program Interaction, Automated Process Interface, Application Programming Interface, or Advanced Protocol Interface? What does API stand for in software development? Correct answer is Application Programming Interface. What is the full form of APT in cybersecurity terminology? Advanced Persistent Threat, Authorized Penetration Test, Advanced Phishing Tactic, or Active Prevention Technique? What is the full form of APT in cybersecurity terminology? Correct answer is Advanced Persistent Threat. What does ARO mean in the context of risk management? Annualized return on operation, annualized rate of occurrence, average rate of occurrence, or automated rate of occurrence? What does ARO mean in the context of risk management? Correct answer is annualized rate of occurrence. In networking, what is the correct meaning of ARP? Authorization Resolution Protocol, Access Request Protocol, Address Routing Process, or Address Resolution Protocol? What is the correct meaning of ARP? Correct answer is Address Resolution Protocol. What does ASLR stand for in modern operating system security? Address Security Link Randomization, Authorized Space Level Randomization, Address Space Layout Randomization, or Access Secure Level Randomization? What does ASLR stand for in modern operating system security? Correct answer is Address Space Layout Randomization. What does ATT and CK stand for in the context of cybersecurity? Advanced Threat Tactics, Common Knowledge and Skills, Adversarial Tactics, Techniques and Common Knowledge, Adversary Threat Techniques and Cryptography, or Authenticated Tactics, Techniques and Cryptography? What does ATT and CK stand for in the context of cybersecurity? Correct answer is Adversarial Tactics, Techniques, and Common Knowledge. What does AUP represent in Organizational Security Policy? Authorized Use Protocol, Actual Usage Policy, Acceptable Use Policy, or Access Usage Procedure? What does AUP represent in Organizational Security Policy? Correct answer is Acceptable Use Policy. In endpoint security, what does AV stand for? Antivirus, Audio Verification, Automated Validation, or Access Viewer? In endpoint security, what does AV stand for? Correct answer is antivirus. In Unix-based systems, what does BASH stand for? Basic Automated Shell, Born and Shell, Binary Application Shell, or Born Again Shell? In Unix-based systems, what does BASH stand for? Correct answer is Born Again Shell. In risk management, what does BCP refer to? Business Compliance Program, business continuity planning, backup recovery plan, or business control procedures. In risk management, what does BCP refer to? Correct answer is business continuity planning. What is the full form of BGP in network routing? Basic Gateway Protocol, Broadband Gateway Procedure, Border Gateway Protocol, or Balanced Gateway Process? What is the full form of BGP in network routing? Correct answer is Border Gateway Protocol. In business risk management, what does BIA stand for? Business Impact Analysis, Business Investment Assessment, Baseline Impact Analysis, or Budget Impact Analysis? In business risk management, what does BIA stand for? Correct answer is Business Impact Analysis. In computer hardware, what is BIOS an acronym for? Binary Input-Output Software, Basic Integrated Operating System, Built-in Operating System, or Basic Input-Output System? What is BIOS an acronym for? Correct answer is Basic Input-Output System. In corporate context, what does BPA typically refer to? Business Process Analysis, Business Partners Agreement, Best Practice Assessment, or Business Performance Agreement? What does BPA typically refer to? Correct answer is Business Partners Agreement. In networking, what does BPDU stand for? Binary Protocol Data Utility, Bridge Packet Distribution Unit, Bridge Protocol Data Unit, or Basic Protocol Data Unit? What does BPDU stand for? Correct answer is Bridge Protocol Data Unit. What does BYOD mean in modern workplace policies? Bring your own device, build your own device, bring your office device, or bring your own data? What does BYOD mean in modern workplace policies? Correct answer is bring your own device. In the context of IT security, what does CA stand for? Certificate Authority, Computer Access, Critical Authority, or Certificate Analyzer? What does CA stand for? Correct answer is Certificate Authority. What does CAPTCHA stand for in cybersecurity? Computer Automated Password Turing Challenge, Completely Automated Public Turing Test to tell computers and human apart, Compulsory Automated Program to test computers, or Completely Automated Program to test computer algorithms? What does CAPTCHA stand for in cybersecurity? Correct answer is Completely Automated Public Turing Test to tell computers and humans apart. Within incident response documentation, what does CAR represent? Critical Analysis Report, Computer Audit Record, Corrective Action Report, or Compliance Assessment Report? What does CAR represent? Correct answer is Corrective Action Report. What does CASB stand for in Cloud Security Solutions? Cloud Application Security Base, Computer Access Security Base, Cloud Application Service Broker, or Cloud Access Security Broker. What does CASB stand for in Cloud Security Solutions? Correct answer is Cloud Access Security Broker. In encryption methods, what does CBC refer to? Cipher block chaining, cipher block check, code block chaining, or cipher batch chain? What does CBC refer to? Correct answer is cipher block chaining. Which term describes CCMP in wireless security? Counter check and MAC protocol, counter mode CBC MAC protocol, counter mode coding MAC protocol, or cipher mode CC MAC protocol? Which term describes CCMP in wireless security? Correct answer is counter mode CBC MAC protocol. What is the full form of CCTV as used in security systems? Centralized control television, computerized camera television, closed circuit television, or comprehensive control television? What is the full form of CCTV in security systems? Correct answer is closed circuit television. In the context of cybersecurity incident response teams, what does CERT or CERT stand for? Computerized Emergency Recovery Team, Cyber Emergency Response Team, Critical Emergency Rescue Team, or Computer Emergency Response Team? What does CERT stand for? Correct answer is Computer Emergency Response Team. In cryptographic feedback modes, what does CFB mean? Cipher feedback, coded feedback, cascading feedback, or critical feedback? In cryptographic feedback modes, what does CFB mean? Correct answer is cipher feedback. What does CHAP or CHAP stand for in network authentication protocols? Controlled Handshake Authentication Protocol, Continuous Handshake Authentication Protocol, Challenge Handshake Authentication Protocol, or Comprehensive Handshake Authentication Process? What does CHAP or CHAP stand for? Correct answer is Challenge Handshake Authentication Protocol. In information security, what does CIA represent? Confidentiality, integrity, and availability, control integrity and accessibility, confidentiality, identification, and assurance, or control, identification, and accessibility? What does CIA represent? Correct answer is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. What does CIO stand for in the context of organizational leadership? Computer Information Organizer, Chief Information Officer, Corporate Information Operator, or Centralized Information Organizer? What does CIO stand for in the context of organizational leadership? Correct answer is Chief Information Officer. Which term best describes CERT or CIRT in the realm of cybersecurity incident management? Computer Investigation Response Team, Cybersecurity Incident Recovery Team, Critical Incident Response Team, or Computer Incident Response Team? Which term best describes CIRT in the realm of cybersecurity incident management? Correct answer is Computer Incident Response Team. In digital content management, what does CMS stand for? Content Management Software, Content Media System, Content Management System, or Centralized Media Service? In digital content management, what does CMS stand for? Correct answer is Content Management System. What does COOP or COOP represent in continuity planning? Contingency Operations Plan, Continuity of Operation Planning, Corporate Operational Outreach Plan, or Central Operations Overhaul Plan? What does COOP represent in continuity planning? Correct answer is Continuity of Operation Planning. In device management strategies, what does COPE or COPE stand for? Corporate-owned organizational provided, company-owned personally managed, corporate organized personally enabled, or corporate-owned personally enabled? What does COPE or COPE stand for? Correct answer is corporate-owned, personally enabled. What does CP refer to in the context of organizational risk management? Contingency planning, crisis prevention, critical procedures, or contingency protocol? What does CP refer to in the context of organizational risk management? Correct answer is contingency planning. What does CRC stand for when discussing error checking methods? Coded redundancy check, cyclic redundancy check, cyclical redundancy check, or continuous redundancy code? What does CRC stand for when discussing error checking methods? Correct answer is cyclical redundancy check. What does CRL mean in the context of digital certificate management? Certificate revocation ledger, certificate revocation list, certificate reissue log, or certified revocation ledger? What does CRL mean in the context of digital certificate management? Correct answer is certificate revocation list. Which of the following best defines CSO in corporate security leadership? Chief Security Officer, Corporate Security Organizer, Central Security Overseer, or Cybersecurity Officer? Which best defines CSO in corporate security leadership? Correct answer is Chief Security Officer. What does CSP stand for in cloud computing? Cloud Security Program, Cloud System Provider, Cloud Service Provider, or Cloud Software Provider? What does CSP stand for in cloud computing? Correct answer is Cloud Service Provider. In certificate management, what does CSR represent? Certificate Security Request, Certificate Signing Request, Certified Signature Request, or Computer System Request. In certificate management, what does CSR represent? Correct answer is Certificate Signing Request. Which term defines CSRF in Web Application Security? Cross-System Request Framework, Client-Side Request Forgery, Cross-Site Resource Function, or Cross-Site Request Forgery? Which term defines CSRF in Web Application Security? Correct answer is Cross-Site Request Forgery. What does CSU refer to in networking equipment? Channel Service Unit, Centralized System Unit, Circuit Switching Unit, or Computer Service Utility? What does CSU refer to in networking equipment? Correct answer is Channel Service Unit. In encryption modes, what does CTM stand for? Computed Timing Mechanism, Counter Mode, Control Transmission Mode, or Ciphertext Masking Technique? What does CTM stand for? Correct answer is Counter Mode. In corporate leadership, what does CTO denote? Chief Technical Officer, Central Technology Operator, Chief Technology Officer, or Corporate Technical Organizer? What does CTO denote? Correct answer is Chief Technology Officer. What is the full form of CVE in vulnerability management? Common Vulnerability Evaluation, Computer Vulnerability Event, Cyber Vulnerability Enumeration, or Common Vulnerability Enumeration? What does CVE mean in vulnerability management? Correct answer is Common Vulnerability Enumeration. Which acronym represents CVSS? Common Vulnerability Scoring System, Cybersecurity Vulnerability Scoring Standard, Common Virus Scanning System, or Critical Vulnerability Severity Scale? Which acronym represents CVSS? Correct answer is Common Vulnerability Scoring System. What does CYOD mean in the context of device management policies? Choose your own desktop, choose your own device, choose your own data, or customize your own device? What does CYOD mean in the context of device management policies? Correct answer is choose your own device. In access control, what does DAC stand for? Distributed Access Control, Direct Authorization Control, Discretionary Access Control, or Digital Access Check? What does DAC stand for? Correct answer is Discretionary Access Control. What does DBA represent in database management? Database Analyst, Database Associate, Data Backup Administrator, or Database Administrator? What does DBA represent in database management? Correct answer is Database Administrator. What does DDoS or DDoS stand for in cybersecurity? Distributed Data Over Systems, Digital Denial of Service, Distributed Denial of Service, or Dynamic Denial of Service? What does DDoS or DDoS stand for in cybersecurity? Correct answer is Distributed Denial of Service. In system security, what does DEP represent? Data Encryption Protocol, Data Execution Prevention, Direct Execution Process, or Disk Encryption Protection? What does DEP represent? Correct answer is Data Execution Prevention. Which of the following is the correct full form of DES? Data Encryption Standard, Digital Encoding Standard, Dual Encryption System, or Digital Encryption Standard? What is the correct form of DES? Correct answer is Digital Encryption Standard. What does DHCP stand for in networking? Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, Data Host Connection Process, Direct Host Communication Protocol, or Digital Host Configuration Procedure? What does DHCP stand for in networking? Correct answer is Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. In cryptographic key exchanges, what does DHE mean? Dynamic Hash Exchange, Data Handling Encryption, Digital Host Ephemeral, or Diffie-Hellman Ephemeral? In cryptographic key exchanges, what does DHE mean? Correct answer is Diffie-Hellman Ephemeral. Which of the following is the correct expansion for DKIM? Domain Key Internet Mail, Domain Key Identified Mail, Data Keys in Mail, or Digital Keys for Internet Messaging? Which of the following is the correct expansion for DKIM? Correct answer is Domain Keys Identified Mail. What does DLL stand for in software libraries? Dynamic Link Library, Direct Loading Library, Dynamic Load List, or Data Link Loader? What does DLL stand for in software libraries? Correct answer is Dynamic Link Library. In data protection, what does DLP stand for? Digital Loss Prevention, Data Leakage Protocol, Data Loss Prevention, or Direct Loss Protection? In data protection, what does DLP stand for? Correct answer is Data Loss Prevention. What does DMARC stand for in email authentication? Domain Message Authentication Report and Conformance, Domain-Based Mail Authentication Reporting and Conformance, Digital Mail Authentication Reporting and Control, or Domain Message Authentication Reporting and Conformance? What does DMARC stand for in email authentication? Correct answer is Domain Message Authentication Reporting and Conformance. In network address translation, what does DNAT refer to? Dynamic Network Address Translation, Destination Network Address Translation, Distributed Network Address Translation, or Data Network Address Translation? What does DNAT refer to? Correct answer is Destination Network Address Translation. Which term describes the DNS in Internet infrastructure? Domain name system, digital name server, data name system, or domain navigation service? Which term describes the DNS in Internet infrastructure? Correct answer is domain name system. What does DOS stand for in cybersecurity attacks? Distributed Operation Service, Digital Overflow Service, Denial of Service, or Direct Operation Shutdown? What does DOS or DOS stand for in cybersecurity attacks? Correct answer is Denial of Service. In organizational roles, what does DPO stand for? Data Protection Organizer, Data Privacy Officer, Digital Protection Operator, or Data Process Overseer? In organizational roles, what does DPO stand for? Correct answer is Data Privacy Officer. What does DRP stand for in business continuity planning? Data Recovery Procedure, Disaster Reinstallation Process, Disaster Recovery Plan, or Data Reproduction Plan? What does DRP stand for in business continuity planning? Correct answer is Disaster Recovery Plan. What does DSA represent in digital security? Data Security Algorithm, Digital Signature Algorithm, Digital Secure Application, or Distributed Signature Authority? What does DSA represent in digital security? Correct answer is Digital Signature Algorithm. In networking, what does DSL stand for? Data Service Link, Digital Service Line, Digital Subscriber Line, or Direct Subscriber Link? In networking, what does DSL stand for? Correct answer is Digital Subscriber Line. What does EAP stand for in the authentication protocols? Encrypted Access Protocol, Extended Authorization Protocol, Enhanced Authentication Process, or Extensible Authentication Protocol? What does EAP stand for in authentication protocols? Correct answer is Extensible Authentication Protocol. In encryption modes, what does ECB stand for? Electronic Codebook, Encrypted Communication Block, Electronic Cipher Block, or Enhanced Code Block? In encryption modes, what does ECB stand for? Correct answer is Electronic Code Book. What is the full form of ECC in modern cryptography? Encrypted Curve Calculation, Elliptic Curve Cryptography, Elliptic Cipher Computing, or Extended Curve Cryptography? What is the full form of ECC in modern cryptography? Correct answer is Elliptic Curve Cryptography. What does ECDHE stand for in secure key exchanges? Elliptic Cryptography Diffie-Hellman Exchange, Encrypted Curve Diffie-Hellman Establishment, Elliptic Curve Diffie-Hellman Ephemeral, or Elliptic Curve Data Handling Exchange? What does ECDHE stand for in secure key exchanges? Correct answer is Elliptic Curve Diffie-Hellman Ephemeral. Which option correctly expands ECDSA in cryptographic signatures? Extended curve digital signature application, elliptical code digital security algorithm, electronic certificate digital signature algorithm, or elliptic curve digital signature algorithm? Which option correctly expands ECDSA in cryptographic signatures? Correct answer is elliptic curve digital signature algorithm. In endpoint security, what does EDR stand for? Endpoint detection and response, endpoint data recovery, enhanced data response, or enterprise detection and reporting? In endpoint security, what does EDR stand for? Correct answer is endpoint detection and response. What is the meaning of EFS in file system security? Electronics file security, encrypted file system, encrypted file storage, or enhanced file system? What is the meaning of EFS in file system security? Correct answer is encrypted file system. What does ERP stand for in enterprise management? Enterprise risk protection, electronic resource planning, enterprise resource planning, or enterprise response program? What does ERP stand for in enterprise management? Correct answer is enterprise resource planning. In device identification, what does ESN stand for? Encrypted serial number, electronic service network, enterprise serial number, or electronic serial number? In device identification, what does ESN stand for? Correct answer is electronic serial number. What does ESP represent in secure communication protocols? Encapsulated security payload, encrypted security protocol, enhanced security payload, or encapsulated signal processing? What does ESP represent in secure communication protocols? Correct answer is encapsulated security payload. In file system management, what does FACL stand for? File Access Control List, File System Access Control List, File Allocation Control List, or File System Account Control List? In file system management, what does FACL stand for? Correct answer is File System Access Control List. What is the full form of FDE in data protection? File data encryption, fast data encryption, full disk encryption, or full data encoding? What is the full form of FDE in data protection? Correct answer is full disk encryption. What does FIM stand for in cybersecurity? File integrity monitoring, file inspection management, file integrity management, or file information management? What does FIM stand for in cybersecurity? Correct answer is file integrity management. What does FPGA stand for in hardware design? Field Programmable Gate Array, Field Process Gate Access, Flexible Program Gate Array, or Field Programmable General Array? What does FPGA stand for in hardware design? Correct answer is Field Programmable Gate Array. In biometric security, what does FRR represent? False recognition ratio, false rejection rate, failed recognition rate, or frequent rejection rate? In biometric security, what does FRR represent? Correct answer is false rejection rate. What does the acronym FTP stand for in networking? Fast Transfer Protocol, File Transmission Protocol, File Transfer Protocol, or File Transport Process? What does the acronym FTP stand for in networking? Correct answer is File Transfer Protocol. What does FTPS stand for in file management? File Transmission Protocol Software, File Transmission Protocol Secure, File Transfer Protocol Software, or File Transfer Protocol Secure? What does FTPS stand for in file management? Correct answer is File Transfer Protocol Secure. In cryptography, what does GCM represent? Global Cipher Mode, General Cryptographic Mode, Galois Counter Mode, or Generic Cipher Mode? In cryptography, what does GCM represent? Correct answer is Galois Counter Mode. What does GDPR stand for in data protection? General Data Protection Regulation, General Data Privacy Regulation, Global Data Protection Regulation, or General Digital Protection Regulation? What does GDPR stand for in data protection? Correct answer is General Data Protection Regulation. In encryption tools, what does GPG stand for? Global Privacy Gateway, General Public Guard, New Privacy Guardian, or New Privacy Guard? In encryption tools, what does GPG stand for? Correct answer is New Privacy Guard. What is the full form of GPO in the context of Windows environments? General Policy Object, Group Policy Object, Global Policy Organization, or Group Protection Object? What is the full form of GPO in the context of Windows environments? Correct answer is Group Policy Object. What does GPS stand for in navigation systems? Global Positioning System, General Positioning System, Geographic Positioning Service, or Global Precision System? What does GPS stand for in navigation systems? Correct answer is Global Positioning System. In computing, what does GPU stand for? General Processing Unit, Graphics Performance Unit, Graphics Processing Unit, or General Purpose Unit? In computing, what does GPU stand for? Correct answer is Graphics Processing Unit. What does GRE represent in networking? Global Routing Exchange, General Routing Encapsulation, General Routing Enclosure, or Generic Routing Entity? What does GRE represent in networking? Correct answer is Generic Routing Encapsulation. What is the meaning of HA in system design? Hybrid access, high authentication, hardware abstraction, or high availability? What is the meaning of HA in system design? Correct answer is high availability. Which term describes HDD in computer storage? Hard data disk, high density drive, hard disk drive, or hybrid disk device? Which term describes HDD in computer storage? Correct answer is hard disk drive. What does HIDS stand for in cybersecurity? Host-based intrusion detection system, hybrid intrusion detection system, host integrated detection system, or hierarchical intrusion detection system? What does HIDS stand for in cybersecurity? Correct answer is host-based intrusion detection system. In endpoint security, what does HIPS stand for? Hybrid intrusion prevention system, host-based intrusion prevention system, high-level intrusion prevention system, or host integrated prevention system? In endpoint security, what does HIPS stand for? Correct answer is host-based intrusion prevention system. Which option correctly expands HMAC in cryptography? Hashed message authentication codebase, hashed message access control, hashed message authentication code, or hybrid message authentication check? Which option correctly expands HMAC in cryptography? Correct answer is hashed message authentication code. What does HOTP stand for in one-time password systems? Hashed one-time password, HMAC-based one-time passcode, high order time password, or HMAC-based one-time password? What does HOTP stand for in one-time password systems? Correct answer is HMAC-based one-time password. In cybersecurity, what is the full form of HSM? Hardware Security Module, Host Security Manager, Hardware Software Module, or Hybrid Security Module? What is the full form of HSM? Correct answer is Hardware Security Module. What does HTML stand for in web development? Hyperlink Text Markup Language, Hypertext Markup Language, High-Level Textual Markup Language, or Hyperlink Markup Language? What does HTML stand for in web development? Correct answer is Hypertext Markup Language. Which option correctly defines HTTP in networking? Hyper-Terminal Transfer Protocol, Hyperlink Transfer Protocol, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, or High Transfer Text Protocol? Which option correctly defines HTTP in networking? Correct answer is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. What does HTTPS stand for in secure communications? Hypertext Transfer Protocol Service, Hyper-Terminal Transfer Protocol Secure, Hypertext Transfer Protection Protocol, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure? What does HTTPS stand for in secure communications? Correct answer is Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. In building management, what does HVAC represent? Heating, ventilation, air conditioning, high-value air conditioning, heat, ventilation, airflow control, or heating, ventilation, and climate? What does HVAC represent? Correct answer is heating, ventilation, air conditioning. What does IaaS stand for in cloud computing? Internet as a service, infrastructure as a service, integrated as a service, or information as a service? What does IaaS stand for in cloud computing? Correct answer is infrastructure as a service. In network structure, what does IAC represent? Integrated as code, infrastructure and application control, infrastructure as code, or information as code? What does IAC represent? Correct answer is infrastructure as code. In access management, what does IAM or IAM stand for? Identity and account management, information and access management, identity access mechanism, or identity and access management? What does IAM stand for? Correct answer is identity and access management. What does ICMP stand for in network protocols? Internet Control Message Protocol, Internal Communication Message Protocol, Interconnected Control Message Protocol, or Internet Connection Management Protocol? What does ICMP stand for in network protocols? Correct answer is Internet Control Message Protocol. In industrial cybersecurity, what does ICS represent? Integrated Control Systems, Industrial Control Systems, Infrastructure Control Systems, or Industrial Communication Systems? What does ICS represent? Correct answer is Industrial Control Systems. Which option correctly expands IDEA or IDEA in encryption algorithms? International Digital Encryption Algorithm, Integrated Data Encryption Algorithm, International Data Encryption Algorithm, or Integrated Digital Encryption Algorithm? Which option correctly expands IDEA in encryption algorithms? Correct answer is International Data Encryption Algorithm. In telecommunications, what does IDF stand for? Integrated Data Frame, Internal Distribution Facility, Intermediate Data Facility, or Intermediate Distribution Frame? In telecommunications, what does IDF stand for? Correct answer is Intermediate Distribution Frame. What is the correct full form of IDP in identity management? Identity Provider, Identification Process, Identity Protocol, or Identification Provider? What is the full form of IDP in identity management? Correct answer is identity provider. Which option describes IDS in network security? Intrusion detection service, intrusion data system, integrated detection system, or intrusion detection system? Which option correctly describes IDS in network security? Correct answer is intrusion detection system. What does IEEE stand for in the context of engineering and technology? International Electrical and Electronic Experts, Institute of Energy and Environmental Engineers, Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, or International Engineering and Electronics Establishment? What does IEEE stand for in the context of engineering and technology? Correct answer is Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. In secure communications, what does IKE stand for? Internal Key Exchange, Internet Key Exchange, Immediate Key Exchange, or Interactive Key Exchange? What does IKE stand for? Correct answer is Internet Key Exchange. What does IM stand for when referring to text-based real-time communication? Instant messaging, immediate messaging, interactive messaging, or internet messaging? What does IM stand for? Correct answer is instant messaging. In email protocols, what does IMAP represent? IMAP. Interactive Mail Access Procedure, Internet Mail Administration Protocol, Internal Message Access Protocol, or Internet Message Access Protocol? In email protocols, what does IMAP or IMAP represent? Correct answer is Internet Message Access Protocol. Which of the following correctly defines IOC in cybersecurity? Indicators of control, indicators of compromise, Internet of cybersecurity, or input-output control? What correctly defines IOC in cybersecurity? Correct answer is indicators of compromise. What does IoT refer to in modern technology environments? Internet of Technology, Information of Things, Internet of Things, or interconnection of tools? What does IoT refer to in modern technology environments? Correct answer is Internet of Things. In networking, what is the full form of IP? Internal Protocol, Integrated Protocol, Internet Provider, or Internet Protocol? What is the full form of IP? Correct answer is Internet Protocol. What does IPS stand for in network security? Intrusion Prevention System, Intrusion Protection Service, Internal Protection System, or Intrusion Prevention Service? What does IPS stand for in network security? Correct answer is Intrusion Prevention System. Which option correctly expands IPsec or IPSEC in secure networking? Internal Protocol Security, Internet Protocol Security, Integrated Protocol Security, or Interconnected Protocol Security? Which option correctly expands IPsec in secure networking? Correct answer is Internet Protocol Security. In cybersecurity, what does IR stand for? Incident report, information response, incident response, or internal review? In cybersecurity, what does IR stand for? Correct answer is incident response. What is the full form of IRC in online communication? Internet Relay Console, Interactive Relay Chat, Internal Relay Communication, or Internet Relay Chat? What is the full form of IRC in online communication? Correct answer is Internet Relay Chat. What does IRP stand for in the context of incident management? Incident Response Plan, Internal Recovery Procedure, Incident Reporting Protocol, or Immediate Response Plan? What does IRP stand for in the context of incident management? Correct answer is Incident Response Plan. Which of the following is the correct expansion for ISO? International Systems Organization, International Standards Organization, Interconnected Systems Organization, or Integrated Standards Office? The correct expansion for ISO. Correct answer is International Standards Organization. What does ISP stand for in telecommunications? Internet Service Provider, International Service Provider, Internet Signal Provider, or Integrated Service Provider? What does ISP stand for? Correct answer is Internet Service Provider. In information security roles, what does ISSO or ISO denote? Information Security Support Officer, Internal System Security Operator, Integrated Security Systems Officer, or Information System Security Officer? In information security roles, what does ISSO or ISO denote? Correct answer is Information Systems Security Officer. What is the full form of IV in cryptography? Initialization vector, internal verification, initial value, or information vector? What is the full form of IV in cryptography? Correct answer is initialization vector. What does KDC stand for in network security? Key Domain Certificate, Key Data Converter, Key Distribution Center, or Kernel Distribution Center? What does KDC stand for in network security? Correct answer is Key Distribution Center. Which of the following is the correct expansion for KEK or KEK? Key Encryption Key, Key Exchange Key, Key Encoding Key, or Kernel Encryption Key? What is the correct expansion for KEK? Correct answer is Key Encryption Key. What does L2TP stand for in tunneling protocols? Level 2 tunneling protocol, Layer 2 transport protocol, Link 2 tunneling process, or Layer 2 tunneling protocol? What does L2TP stand for in tunneling protocols? Correct answer is Layer 2 tunneling protocol. In networking, what does LAN or LAN stand for? Large area network, local area network, limited area network, or long area network? What does LAN stand for? Correct answer is local area network. What is the full form of LDAP or LDAP? Local Directory Access Protocol, Light Data Access Protocol, Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, or Logical Directory Administration Protocol? What is the full form of LDAP or LDAP? Correct answer is Lightweight Directory Access Protocol. Which option correctly expands LEAP or LEAP? Lightweight Encryption and Authentication Protocol, Local Extensible Authentication Protocol, Lightweight Extensible Authorization Protocol, or Lightweight Extensible Authentication Protocol? Which option correctly expands LEAP? Correct answer is Lightweight Extensible Authentication Protocol. What does MAS or MAAS stand for in cloud services? Management as a Service, Mobile as a Service, Monitoring as a Service, or Maintenance as a Service? What does MAAS stand for in cloud services? Correct answer is Monitoring as a Service. In access control models, what does MAC stand for? In access control models, Managed Access Control, Mandatory Access Control, Modular Access Control, or Manual Access Control? Correct answer is Mandatory Access Control. In networking, what does MAC stand for? Modular Access Channel, Multiple Access Control, Media Access Control, or Manual Access Channel? In networking, what does MAC stand for? Correct answer is Media Access Control. What is the correct expansion for MAC in cryptography? Message Authentication Code, Machine Authentication Certificate, Message Access Control, or Module Authentication Code? What is the correct expansion for MAC in cryptography? Correct answer is Message Authentication Code. What does MAN or MAN stand for in networking? Mobile Area Network, Main Area Network, Multi-Region Area Network, or Metropolitan Area Network? What does MAN stand for in networking? Correct answer is Metropolitan Area Network. In computer storage, what does MBR stand for? Main boot record, master boot record, master binary record, or module boot recorder? In computer storage, what does MBR stand for? Correct answer is master boot record. What does MD5 stand for in hashing algorithms? Message Digest 5, Media Data 5, Message Data 5, or Master Digest 5? What does MD5 stand for in hashing algorithms? Correct answer is Message Digest 5. Which option correctly expands MDF in telecommunications? Modular distribution framework, medium distribution frame, main distribution frame, or main data frame? Which option correctly expands MDF in telecommunications? Correct answer is main distribution frame. What does MDM stand for in mobile security management? Mobile data monitoring, mobile device management, managed device module, or mobile distribution management? What does MDM stand for in mobile security management? Correct answer is mobile device management. What does MFA represent in cybersecurity authentication? Multi-factor authentication, multifunction access, multifaceted access, or multiple factor authorization? What does MFA represent in cybersecurity authentication? Correct answer is multi-factor authentication. Which option is the correct expansion for MFD in IT devices? Multifunctional data, modular file device, multifunction device, or multiple file display? Which option is the correct expansion for MFD in IT devices? Correct answer is multifunction device. In office equipment terminology, what does MFP stand for? Multifunction phone, multifunction format printer, modular file printer, or multifunction printer? What does MFP stand for? Correct answer is multifunction printer. What does ML stand for in the context of advanced technology? Manual logic, machine learning, multi-level, or modular linkage? What does ML stand for in the context of advanced technology? Correct answer is machine learning. What is the full form of MMS in mobile communications? Multimedia message service, multiple message system, media messaging service, or multi-mode message service? What is the full form of MMS in mobile communications? Correct answer is multimedia message service. What does MOA stand for in contractual agreements? Memorandum of authorization, memorandum of analysis, memorandum of arrangement, or memorandum of agreement? What does MOA stand for in contractual agreements? Correct answer is memorandum of agreement. Which option correctly expands MOU in business contexts? Memorandum of use, manual of understanding, memorandum of understanding, or management of users? What correctly expands MOU in business contexts? Correct answer is memorandum of understanding. What does MPLS stand for in networking? Multiple protocol link service, multi-protocol label switching, modular protocol label system, or multi-platform label switching? What does MPLS stand for in networking? Correct answer is multi-protocol label switching. What is the correct expansion for MSA in contract management? Master Service Agreement, Managed Service Agreement, Main Service Agreement, or Modular Service Agreement? The correct expansion for MSA in contract management. Correct answer is Master Service Agreement. In network authentication, what does MSCHAP stand for? MSCHAP. Microsoft Secure Channel Handshake Authentication Protocol, Microsoft Standard Challenge Handshake Authentication Protocol, Microsoft System Challenge Handshake Authentication Protocol, or Microsoft Challenge Handshake Authentication Protocol. In network authentication, what does MSCHAP stand for? Correct answer is Microsoft Challenge Handshake Authentication Protocol. What does MSP represent in IT service management? Managed Security Provider, Managed Service Partner, Managed Service Provider, or Mobile Service Provider? What does MSP represent in IT service management? Correct answer is Managed Service Provider. Which option correctly expands MSSP in cybersecurity services? Managed Secure Service Provider, Managed Security Service Provider, Multi-Sector Security Provider, or Managed Surveillance Service Provider? Which correctly expands MSSP in cybersecurity services? Correct answer is Managed Security Service Provider. In reliability engineering, what does MTBF stand for? Mean time between failures, mean time before failure, maximum time between failures, or mean time between faults? What does MTBF stand for? Correct answer is mean time between failures. Which option correctly expands MTTF in reliability metrics? Mean time till failure, maximum time to failure, mean time to fault, or mean time to failure? Which correctly expands MTTF in reliability metrics? Correct answer is mean time to failure. What does MTTR stand for in IT service management? Mean time to repair, mean time to recover, mean time to reboot, or maximum time to respond? What does MTTR stand for in IT service management? Correct answer is mean time to recover. In networking, what does MTU represent? Minimum transmission unit, maximum transfer unit, maximum transmission unit, or minimum transfer unit? What does MTU represent? Correct answer is maximum transmission unit. What does NAC stand for in network security? Network authentication control, network allocation control, network administrative control, or network access control? What does NAC stand for in network security? Correct answer is network access control. Which of the following correctly defines NAT or NAT in networking? Network address translation, network allocation table, network access transmission, or national access terminal? Which correctly defines NAT in networking? Correct answer is network address translation. What does NDA stand for in business agreements? non-distribution agreement, non-design agreement, non-disclosure agreement, or network disclosure agreement. What does NDA stand for in business agreements? Correct answer is non-disclosure agreement. In wireless communications, what does NFC represent? Near field communication, network field communication, new field communication, or near frequency control. What does NFC represent? Correct answer is near field communication. What does NGFW stand for in modern cybersecurity? Next Generation File Wrapper, Next Generation Firewall, Next Gateway Firewall, or New Generation Firewall? What does NGFW stand for in modern cybersecurity? Correct answer is Next Generation Firewall. What does NIDS stand for in Network Security Solutions? Network Intrusion Detection System, Network Integrated Detection Service, Non-Intrusive Detection System, or Network Interface Detection System? What does NIDS stand for in Network Security Solutions? Correct answer is Network Intrusion Detection System. What does NIPS or NIPS stand for in Network Security Solutions? Network Integrated Prevention Service, Network-Based Intrusion Prevention System, Network Intrusion Protection System, or Non-Intrusive Prevention System? What does NIPS or NIPS stand for in Network Security Solutions? Correct answer is Network-Based Intrusion Prevention System. What is the full form of NIST in cybersecurity standards? NIST. National Institute of Standards and Technology, National Information Security Team, Network Institute of Security and Technology, or National Institute of Security and Technology? What is the full form of NIST in cybersecurity standards? Correct answer is National Institute of Standards and Technology. In file systems, what does NTFS stand for? Network Technology File System, New Transfer File System, New Technology File System, or Next Technology File System? What does NTFS stand for? Correct answer is New Technology File System. What does NTLM stand for in Microsoft Authentication Protocols? New Technology LAN Manager, Network Technology LAN Manager, New Terminal LAN Manager, or Network Terminal LAN Manager? What does NTLM stand for in Microsoft Authentication Protocols? Correct answer is New Technology LAN Manager. Which protocol is represented by the acronym NTP? Network Time Protocol, National Time Protocol, New Time Protocol, or Network Timing Protocol? What is represented by the acronym NTP? Correct answer is Network Time Protocol. What does OAuth or OAuth stand for in authorization frameworks? Online authorization, open authentication, organized authorization, or open authorization? What does OAuth stand for in authorization frameworks? Correct answer is open authorization. In certificate validation, what does OCSP represent? Online Certificate Security Protocol, Offline Certificate Status Protocol, Online Certificate Status Protocol, or Online Certificate Synchronization Protocol. What does OCSP represent? Correct answer is Online Certificate Status Protocol. What is the full form of OID in object identification? Object identifier, organizational identifier, operational identifier, or object identification? What is the full form of OID in object identification? Correct answer is object identifier. In computing, what does OS stand for? Object system, output system, overload system, or operating system? What does OS stand for? Correct answer is operating system. What does OSINT stand for in intelligence gathering? Open System Internal Technology, Open Source Intelligence, Operational Source Information, or Online System Integration? What does OSINT stand for in intelligence gathering? Correct answer is Open Source Intelligence. Which option correctly expands OSPF in routing protocols? Open System Protocol Function, Operational Shortest Path Finder, Open Shortest Path First, or Optimal Shortest Path Forwarding? Which correctly expands OSPF in routing protocols? Correct answer is Open Shortest Path First. In industrial environments, what does OT stand for? Operational Technology, Organizational Technology, Optical Transmission, or Operational Transmission? What does OT stand for in industrial environments? Correct answer is Operational Technology. What does OTA stand for in wireless communications? Over the area, over the air, open transport architecture, or on-time access? What does OTA stand for in wireless communications? Correct answer is over the air. Which option correctly defines OVAL, OVAL, in vulnerability assessments? Operational Vulnerability Analysis Link, Organized Vulnerability Assessment Logic, Open Vulnerability Assessment Language, or Open Vulnerability Analysis List? Which option correctly defines OVAL, OVAL, in vulnerability assessments? Correct answer is Open Vulnerability Assessment Language. What does P12 refer to in cryptographic standards? Password 12-digit, Protocol 12, Public Key 12, or PKCS number 12? What does P12 refer to in cryptographic standards? Correct answer is PKCS number 12. In networking, what does P2P stand for? Point-to-point, peer-to-peer, packet-to-packet, or protocol-to-protocol? What does P2P stand for? Correct answer is peer-to-peer. What does PaaS stand for in cloud computing? Platform as a service, product as a service, process as a service, or program as a service? What does PaaS stand for in cloud computing? Correct answer is platform as a service. Which option correctly expands PAC in proxy configurations? Public access control, proxy access code, pre-configured access control, or proxy auto configuration? Which option correctly expands PAC in proxy configurations? Correct answer is proxy auto configuration. In securing user privileges, what does PAM or PAM stand for? Privileged access management, protected account management, privileged authentication mechanism, or private access method? What does PAM, PAM stand for? Correct answer is privileged access management. Within Linux authentication, what does PAM represent? Portable authentication method, pluggable authentication modules, password authentication module, or protocol access module? Within Linux authentication, what does PAM represent? Correct answer is pluggable authentication modules. What does PAP or PAP stand for in authentication protocols? Private access protocol, public authentication process, protected access protocol, or password authentication protocol? What does PAP or PAP stand for in authentication protocols? Correct answer is Password Authentication Protocol. Which option correctly defines PAT, PAT in network address translation techniques? Port address translation, packet address translation, protocol address translation, or private address translation? Which option correctly defines PAT in network address translation techniques? Correct answer is port address translation. What does PBK-DF2 stand for in cryptographic key derivation? Private-based key distribution function 2, password-based key derivation function 2, public binary key derivation format 2, or password binary key derivation format 2? What does PBK-DF2 stand for in cryptographic key derivation? Correct answer is password-based key derivation function 2. In telephony, what does PBX refer to? Public branch exchange, private base exchange, private branch exchange, or public base exchange? In telephony, what does PBX refer to? Correct answer is private branch exchange. Which option correctly defines PCAP, PCAP in network analysis? Packet capture, packet content analysis, protocol capture, or packet communication analysis? Which option correctly defines PCAP in network analysis? Correct answer is packet capture. What does PCI DSS stand for in payment security standards? Personal card information data security standard, Payment Card Information Data Safety Standard, Payment Card Industry Data Security System, or Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. What does PCI DSS stand for in Payment Security Standards? Correct answer is Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. In power management, what does PDU refer to? Power Data Unit, Peripheral Distribution Unit, Power Distribution Unit, or Primary Distribution Unit. In power management, what does PDU refer to? Correct answer is Power Distribution Unit. What does PEAP stand for in wireless authentication protocols? PEAP. Public Extensible Authentication Protocol, Protected Extensible Authentication Protocol, Private Extensible Authentication Protocol, or Password Extensible Authentication Protocol. What does PEAP, PEAP stand for in wireless authentication protocols? Correct answer is Protected Extensible Authentication Protocol. Which option correctly expands PED in the context of device security? Personalized electronic dashboard, professional electronic device, private electronic device, or personal electronic device? What correctly expands PED in the context of device security? Correct answer is personal electronic device. What does PEM stand for in secure email formats? Privacy enhanced mail, personal electronic mail, public encrypted mail, or protocol encrypted message? What does PEM stand for in secure email formats? Correct answer is privacy enhanced mail. In cryptographic protocols, what does PFS refer to? Private file system, public forward secrecy, perfect forward secrecy, or primary file security? In cryptographic protocols, what does PFS refer to? Correct answer is perfect forward secrecy. What is the full form of PGP in data encryption? Private good protection, pretty good privacy, public general privacy, or personal good privacy? What is the full form of PGP in data encryption? Correct answer is pretty good privacy. In healthcare security, what does PHI stand for? Public health information, personal hospital information, protected health insurance, or personal health information? In healthcare security, what does PHI stand for? Correct answer is personal health information. Which option correctly defines PII in privacy regulations? Personally identifiable information, public identifiable information, private information identifier, or personal identification information? Which option correctly defines PII in privacy regulations? Correct answer is personally identifiable information. What does PIV stand for in government security standards? Public identity verification, personal identification validation, personal identity verification, or private identity verification? What does PIV stand for in government security standards? Correct answer is personal identity verification. Which option correctly expands PKCS in cryptographic standards? Private key certificate system, public key certificate specifications, protocol key cryptographic scheme, or public key cryptography standards? Which option correctly expands PKCS in cryptographic standards? Correct answer is public key cryptography standards. What does PKI stand for in cybersecurity? Private key identification, public key infrastructure, public key integration, or private key infrastructure? What does PKI stand for in cybersecurity? Correct answer is public key infrastructure. In email protocols, what does POP or POP stand for? Personal Office Protocol, Public Office Protocol, Post Office Protocol, or Private Office Protocol? In email protocols, what does POP stand for? Correct answer is Post Office Protocol. What does POTS stand for in telephony? Private Office Telephone Service, Public Optical Telephone Service, Primary Office Telephone System, or Plain Old Telephone Service? What does POTS stand for in telephony? Correct answer is Plain Old Telephone Service. Which protocol is defined as PPP? Point-to-point protocol, packet-to-packet protocol, private-to-private protocol, or peer-to-peer protocol? Which protocol is defined as PPP? Correct answer is point-to-point protocol. What does PPTP stand for in VPN technologies? Private Point Tunneling Protocol, Point-to-Point Tunneling Protocol, Peer-to-Peer Tunneling Protocol, or Public Point Tunneling Protocol? What does PPTP stand for in VPN technologies? Correct answer is Point-to-Point Tunneling Protocol. In wireless security, what does PSK represent? Public shared key, private shared key, pre-shared key, or password shared key? What does PSK represent in wireless security? Correct answer is pre-shared key. Which option correctly defines PTZ in video surveillance systems? Play track zoom, pan tilt zone, point turn zoom, or pan tilt zoom? Which option correctly defines PTZ in video surveillance systems? Correct answer is pan tilt zoom. In malware terminology, what does PUP or PUP stand for? Potentially unwanted program, publicly unwanted process, pre-installed unwanted package, or potentially unwanted process? In malware terminology, what does PUP stand for? Correct answer is potentially unwanted program. In data context, what does RA stand for as a role? Remote administrator, recovery agent, risk assessor, or resource allocator? What does RA stand for as a role? Correct answer is recovery agent. Within PKI, what does RA stand for during certificate issuance? Record authority, routing authority, registration authority, or reference authority? Within PKI, what does RA stand for during certificate issuance? Correct answer is registration authority. What does RACE stand for in communications research? Research and coordination in advanced communications engineering, research and analysis in cybersecurity engineering, rapid application in communications engineering, or research and development in advanced communication technologies in Europe? What does RACE stand for in communications research? Correct answer is research and development in advanced communication technologies in Europe. Which option correctly expands RAD in software development? Rapid application development, reliable application deployment, remote application development, or responsive application design? Which option correctly expands RAD in software development? Correct answer is rapid application development. What does RADIUS stand for in network authentication services? Remote access dial-in user service, remote authentication dial-in user service, regional authentication dial-in user service, or remote access data user interface service? What does RADIUS stand for in network authentication services? Correct answer is remote authentication dial-in user service. What does RAID stand for in storage systems? Random array of inexpensive disks, redundant array of inexpensive disks, reliable array of inexpensive disks, or rapid array of inexpensive disks? What does RAID stand for in storage systems? Correct answer is redundant array of inexpensive disks. What does RAS stand for in network access solutions? Remote active service, remote application server, remote access server, or reliable access server? What does RAS stand for in network access solutions? Correct answer is remote access server. In cybersecurity threats, what does RAT stand for? Remote administration tool, remote access Trojan, rapid access tool, or reliable administration Trojan? In cybersecurity threats, what does RAT stand for? Correct answer is remote access Trojan. What does RBAC or RBAC stand for in control models? Record-based access control, resource-based access control, region-based access control, or role-based access control? What does RBAC or RBAC stand for in control models? Correct answer is role-based access control. What is another definition for RBAC in control models? Registration-based access control, rule-based access control, resource-based access control, or real-time access control? What is another definition for RBAC in control models? Correct answer is rule-based access control. What does RC4 refer to in encryption algorithms? Rivest cipher version 4, Rivest code version 4, Rivest cryptographic 4, or Rivest or revised cipher version 4. What does RC4 refer to in encryption algorithms? Correct answer is Rivest cipher version 4. What does RDP stand for in Remote Connectivity Solutions? Remote Data Protocol, Rapid Desktop Process, Remote Desktop Protocol, or Remote Display Protocol? What does RDP stand for in Remote Connectivity Solutions? Correct answer is Remote Desktop Protocol. What does RFID stand for in identification technologies? Remote Frequency Identification, Radio Frequency Indicator, Remote Field Identification, or Radio Frequency Identification? What does RFID stand for in identification technologies? Correct answer is Radio Frequency Identification. What does RIPE-MD stand for in hash functions? RIPE-MD. Rivest Integrity Protocol Message Digest, Race Integrity Primitives Evaluation Message Digest, Random Integrity Primitive Evaluation Message Digest, or Reliable Integrity Primitives Evaluation Message Digest? What does RIPE-MD, RIPE-MD stand for in hash functions? Correct answer is Race Integrity Primitives Evaluation Message Digest. In financial analysis, what does ROI stand for? Return on investment, rate of investment, return of investment, or ratio of investment? In financial analysis, what does ROI stand for? Correct answer is return on investment. What does RPO stand for in disaster recovery planning? Recovery Performance Objective, Restoration Point Objective, Return Point Objective, or Recovery Point Objective? What does RPO stand for in disaster recovery planning? Correct answer is Recovery Point Objective. What does RSA stand for in public key cryptography? Rivest, Shamir, and Edelman, Rivest, Smith, and Anderson, Reliable Security Algorithm, or Rapid Security Application? What does RSA stand for in public key cryptography? Correct answer is Rivest, Shamir, and Edelman. What does RTBH stand for in network defense strategies? Real-time black hole, remotely triggered black hole, remote terminal black hole, or rapidly triggered black hole? What does RTBH stand for in network defense strategies? Correct answer is remotely triggered black hole. What does RTO stand for in disaster recovery metrics? Recovery technical operation, return time objective, response time objective, or recovery time objective? What does RTO stand for in disaster recovery metrics? Correct answer is recovery time objective. In embedded systems, what does RTOS stand for? Real-time operations software, real-time operating system, real-time output service, or real-time open system? In embedded systems, what does RTOS stand for? Correct answer is real-time operating system. What does RTP represent in media streaming protocols? Reliable transport protocol, rapid transmission protocol, real-time transport protocol, or remote transfer protocol? What does RTP represent in media streaming protocols? Correct answer is real-time transport protocol. Which option correctly defines SMIME in email security? SMIME. Secure multi-purpose internet mail extensions, secure managed internet mail encryption, safe multi-purpose internet mail exchange, or secure multi-user internet mail encoding? Which option correctly defines SMIME in email security? Correct answer is secure multi-purpose internet mail extensions. In cloud computing, what does SaaS stand for? Software and services, software as a service, system as a service, or solutions as a service? In cloud computing, what does SaaS stand for? Correct answer is software as a service. In authentication methods, what does SAE mean? Secure authentication exchange, simple authentication element, simultaneous authentication of equals, or server-assisted encryption? In authentication methods, what does SAE mean? Correct answer is simultaneous authentication of equals. What does SAML stand for in federated identity management? Secure assertion markup language, simple assertion markup language, secure access markup language, or security assertions markup language? What does SAML stand for in federated identity management? Correct answer is security assertions markup language. In data storage, what does SAN or SAN refer to? Storage area network, server access network, system archive network, or secure access node? In data storage, what does SAN or SAN refer to? Correct answer, storage area network. In digital certificates, what does SAN stand for? Storage area name, subject alternative name, secure attribute name, or secondary authorization name? In digital certificates, what does SAN stand for? Correct answer is subject alternative name. What does SASE stand for in network security architecture? Secure access service environment, secure application service edge, secure access service edge, or security and access service edge? What does SASE stand for in network security architecture? Correct answer is Secure Access Service Edge. In industrial control systems, what does SCADA, SCADA, represent? supervisory control and data aggregation, secure control and data acquisition, supervisory command and data analysis, or supervisory control and data acquisition. In industrial control systems, what does SCADA represent? Correct answer is supervisory control and data acquisition. What does SCAP stand for in security compliance tools? Security Content Automation Protocol, System Control Automation Program, Secure Content Analysis Process, or Security Configuration Assessment Protocol. What does SCAP or SCAP stand for in security compliance tools? Correct answer is Security Content Automation Protocol. In certificate management, what does SCEP stand for? Simple Certificate Enrollment Process, Simple Certificate Enrollment Protocol, Secure Certificate Enrollment Protocol, or Standard Certificate Enrollment Procedure. In certificate management, what does SCEP stand for? Correct answer is Simple Certificate Enrollment Protocol. What does SD-WAN represent in modern networking? Software-driven wide area network, standard-defined wide area network, software-distributed wide area network, or software-defined wide area network. What does SD-WAN represent in modern networking? Correct answer is software-defined wide area network. In software development, what does SDK stand for? Software Development Kit, System Development Kernel, Software Deployment Kit, or System Development Kit. In software development, what does SDK stand for? Correct answer is Software Development Kit. What does SDLC stand for in project management? System Development Lifecycle, Software Design Lifecycle, System Design Lifecycle, or Software Development Lifecycle. What does SDLC stand for in project management? Correct answer is Software Development Lifecycle. What does SDLM represent in software engineering? Software Development Lifecycle Method, Software Development Lifecycle Methodology, System Development Lifecycle Model, or Software Design Lifecycle Model. What does SDLM represent in software engineering? Correct answer is Software Development Lifecycle Methodology. What does SDN stand for in modern networking? Software-defined networking, secure data networking, systematic data network, or software-driven network. What does SDN stand for in modern networking? Correct answer is software-defined networking. In Linux security, what does SE Linux stand for? Standard Edition Linux, Security Enhanced Linux, Secure Enterprise Linux, or System Enhanced Linux. In Linux security, what does SE Linux stand for? Correct answer is Security Enhanced Linux. Which term best describes SED in hardware security? Secure encrypted data, software-enabled drive, self-encrypting drives, or simple encryption device? Which term best describes SED in hardware security? Correct answer is self-encrypting drives. In programming, what does SEH stand for? Standard exception handler, systematic error handler, structured error handler, or structured exception handler? In programming, what does SEH stand for? Correct answer is structured exception handler. What does SFTP stand for in file transfer protocols? Secured file transfer protocol, simple file transfer process, secure file transmission protocol, or safe file transfer protocol? What does SFTP stand for in file transfer protocols? Correct answer is Secured File Transfer Protocol. Which option correctly defines SHA in cryptographic functions? Secure hashing algorithmic, secure hashing algorithm, simple hashing algorithm, or standard hash algorithm? Which option correctly defines SHA in cryptographic functions? Correct answer is secure hashing algorithm. What does SHTTP stand for in web communications? Simple Hypertext Transfer Protocol, Standard Hypertext Transfer Protocol, Secure Hypertext Transfer Protocol, or Safe Hypertext Transfer Protocol? What does SHTTP stand for in web communications? Correct answer is Secure Hypertext Transfer Protocol. In cybersecurity monitoring, what does SIEM, S-I-E-M, stand for? System Information and Event Management, Security Intelligent Event Management, Secure Information and Event Monitoring, or Security Information and Event Management? In cybersecurity monitoring, what does SIEM stand for? Correct answer is Security Information and Event Management. In mobile communications, what does SIM or SIM stand for? Subscriber Identity Module, Secure Information Module, System Integration Module, or Subscriber Internet Module? In mobile communications, what does SIM or SIM stand for? Correct answer is Subscriber Identity Module. What does SLA stand for in service agreements? System Level Agreement, Service Level Agreement, Standard Level Agreement, or Secure Level Agreement? What does SLA stand for in service agreements? Correct answer is Service Level Agreement. Which term defines SLE in risk management metrics? Standard loss estimate, system loss expectancy, single loss expectancy, or single loss estimate? Which term defines SLE in risk management metrics? Correct answer is single loss expectancy. What does SMS stand for in mobile communications? System Message Service, Simple Message Service, Secure Message Service, or Short Message Service? What does SMS stand for in mobile communications? Correct answer is Short Message Service. What does SMTP stand for in Internet communication? Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, Secure Mail Transmission Protocol, Standard Mail Transfer Procedure, or Simple Mail Transaction Protocol? What does SMTP stand for in Internet communication? Correct answer is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. What does SMTPS stand for in Internet communications? Secure Mail Transfer Protocol Standard, Simple Mail Transmission Protocol Secure, Simple Mail Transfer Process Standard, or Simple Mail Transfer Protocol Secure? What does SMTPS stand for in Internet communications? Correct answer is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol Secure. What does SNMP stand for in network management? Simple Network Management Protocol, Secure Network Monitoring Protocol, Simple Node Management Protocol, or System Network Management Protocol? What does SNMP stand for in network management? Correct answer is Simple Network Management Protocol. What does SOAP or SOAP stand for in web services? Standard Object Application Protocol, Secure Object Access Protocol, Simple Object Access Protocol, or Simple Open Access Protocol? What does SOAP, SOAP stand for in web services? Correct answer is Simple Object Access Protocol. What does SOAR stand for in cybersecurity operations? Security Orchestration, Automation, and Response, Secure Operations and Response, System Orchestration and Automated Response, or Security Optimization and Automated Response? What does SOAR stand for in cybersecurity operations? Correct answer is Security Orchestration, Automation, and Response. In hardware design, what does SOC stand for? Security on Campus, Service on Chip, System of Components, or System on Chip? What does SOC stand for in hardware design? Correct answer is System on Chip. In cybersecurity operations, what does SOC stand for? Security Operations Command, Secure Operations Center, Security Operations Center, or System Operations Center? In cybersecurity operations, what does SOC stand for? Correct answer is Security Operations Center. What does SOW stand for in project management? Service of work, schedule of work, summary of work, or statement of work? What does SOW stand for in project management? Correct answer is statement of work. What does SPF stand for in email authentication? Sender Policy Framework, Secure Postmail Format, Standard Protocol Framework, or Sender Protection Feature? What does SPF stand for in email authentication? Correct answer is Sender Policy Framework. What does SPIM stand for in unwanted messaging? Secure Protocol for Internet Messaging, Service Protocol for Instant Messaging, Spam Prevention in Messaging, or Spam over Internet Messaging? What does SPIM stand for in unwanted messaging? Correct answer is Spam over Internet Messaging. What does SQL stand for in database management? standard query language, structured query language, simple query language, or sequential query language? What does SQL stand for in database management? Correct answer is structured query language. In web security, what does SQLI refer to? Structured query logging injection, standard query language intrusion, SQL injection, or structured query language interference? In web security, what does SQLI refer to? Correct answer is SQL or SQL injection. What does SRTP stand for in secure media transmission? Secure real-time processing, standard real-time protocol, secure real-time protocol, or secure real-time protection? What does SRTP stand for in secure media transmission? Correct answer is secure real-time protocol. What does SSD stand for in computer storage? Solid-state drive, single storage device, serial storage disk, or secure storage device? What does SSD stand for in computer storage? Correct answer is solid-state drive. What does SSH stand for in secure remote access? Simple shell, secure shell, server shell, or system shell? What does SSH stand for in secure remote access? Correct answer is secure shell. In web security, what does SSL stand for? Secure socket login, secure system layer, secure sockets layer, or system secure layer? In web security, what does SSL stand for? Correct answer is secure sockets layer. What does SSO represent in authentication systems? Single sign-off, simple sign-on, secure sign-on, or single sign-on? What does SSO represent in authentication systems? Correct answer is single sign-on. What does STIX stand for in threat intelligence sharing? Structured threat information exchange, standard threat information exchange, secure threat information exchange, or structured threat indicator exchange? What does STIX or STIX stand for in threat intelligence sharing? Correct answer is structured threat information exchange. In web security, what does SWG stand for? Standard Web Gateway, Secure Web Gateway, Simple Web Gateway, or System Web Gateway? In web security, what does SWG stand for? Correct answer is Secure Web Gateway. What does TACACS Plus stand for in Network Access Control? TACACS Plus. Terminal Access Controller Access Control Service, Terminal Access Control and Communication System, Terminal Access Controller Access Control System, or Telecom Access Control and Security? What does TACACS Plus stand for in Network Access Control? Correct answer is Terminal Access Controller Access Control System. What does TAXII, TAXII, stand for in Threat Intelligence Exchange? Trusted Automated Exchange of Indicator Info, trusted automated exchange of indicator info, trusted access exchange of indicator information, or trusted automated exchange of indicator information. What does TAXI stand for in Threat Intelligence Exchange? Correct answer is Trusted Automated Exchange of Indicator Information. What does TCP/IP stand for in networking? Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol, Transfer Control Protocol, Interconnect Protocol, Transmission Communication Protocol, Internet Protocol, or Transfer Communication Protocol, Interconnect Protocol. What does TCP/IP stand for in networking? Correct answer is Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol. In Kerberos authentication, what does TGT stand for? Ticket Granting Token, Ticket Granting Ticket, Token Granting Ticket, or Ticket Generating Ticket? In Kerberos authentication, what does TGT stand for? Correct answer is Ticket Granting Ticket. What does TKIP or TKIP stand for in wireless encryption protocols? Temporal Key Integrity Protocol, Transient Key Integrity Protocol, Temporal Key Information Protocol, or Transitional Key Integrity Protocol? What does TKIP stand for in wireless encryption protocols? Correct answer is Temporal Key Integrity Protocol. What does TLS stand for in secure communications? Transport Link Security, Transmission Layer Security, Transfer Level Security, or Transport Layer Security? What does TLS stand for in secure communications? Correct answer is Transport Layer Security. What does TOC stand for in software security contexts? Type of control, term of condition, time of check, or total order check? What does TOC stand for in software security contexts? Correct answer is time of check. What does TOTP stand for in authentication mechanisms? Temporary one-time password, time-based one-time password, timed one-time passcode, or timed operator password? What does TOTP stand for in authentication mechanisms? Correct answer is time-based one-time password. In billing and energy management, what does TOU stand for? Time of use, time of update, time of usage, or time of user? In billing and energy management, what does TOU stand for? Correct answer is time of use. What does TPM stand for in hardware security? Trusted Processing Method, Technical Platform Module, Trusted Platform Module, or Technology Processing Module? What does TPM stand for in hardware security? Correct answer is Trusted Platform Module. What is the correct expansion of TTP in cybersecurity contexts? Tactical Threat Protocol, Tactics, Techniques and Procedures, Tactics, Training and Processes, or Targeted Threat Procedures? What is the correct expansion of TTP in cybersecurity contexts? Correct answer is Tactics, Techniques and Procedures. In DNS security, what does TSIG or TSIG stand for? Time signature, transmission signal, terminal signal, or transaction signature? In DNS security, what does TSIG stand for? Correct answer is transaction signature. What does UAT stand for in software testing process? User acceptance testing, user automated testing, universal acceptance testing, or unilateral acceptance test? What does UAT stand for in the software testing process? Correct answer is user acceptance testing. What is the full form of UAV in modern technology? Universal aerial vehicle, unmanned aerial vehicle, unattended airborne vehicle, or unmanned autonomous vehicle? What is the full form of UAV in modern technology? Correct answer is unmanned aerial vehicle. In networking, what does UDP stand for? Universal Datagram Protocol, User Data Protocol, User Datagram Protocol, or Unified Datagram Protocol? In networking, what does UDP stand for? Correct answer is User Datagram Protocol. What does UEFI stand for in computer firmware? Universal Extensible Firmware Interface, Unified Extended Firmware Interface, Universal Extended Firmware Interface, or Unified Extensible Firmware Interface? What does UEFI stand for in computer firmware? Correct answer is Unified Extensible Firmware Interface. In endpoint management, what does UEM stand for? Unified Endpoint Management, Universal Endpoint Management, Unified Enterprise Management, or User Endpoint Management? In endpoint management, what does UEM stand for? Correct answer is Unified Endpoint Management. What does UPS stand for in power protection systems? Universal Power System, Uninterruptible Power Supply, Uninterrupted Power Source, or Uninterrupted Power Supply? What does UPS stand for in power protection systems? Correct answer is Uninterruptible Power Supply. What does URI represent in Web Resource Identification? Universal Resource Identifier, Uniform Resource Indicator, Uniform Resource Identifier, or Universal Resource Indicator? What does URI represent in Web Resource Identification? Correct answer is Uniform Resource Identifier. What does URL stand for in web addressing? Unilateral Resource Locator, Unilateral Resource Link, Uniform Reference Locator, or Uniform Resource Locator? What does URL stand for in web addressing? Correct answer is Uniform Resource Locator. What does USB stand for in computer connectivity? Universal Serial Bus, Unilateral System Bus, Unique Serial Bridge, or Universal Signal Bus? What does USB stand for in computer connectivity? Correct Correct answer is Universal Serial Bus. What does USB OTG stand for in mobile device connectivity? Universal Serial Bus on Time, USB on the go, Universal Serial Bus, your Universal System Bus on the go, or Universal Serial Bus on the ground. What does USB OTG stand for in mobile device connectivity? The correct answer is USB on the go, or Universal Serial Bus on the go. In network security, what does UTM stand for? Universal Threat Monitoring, User Threat Management, Unified Terminal Management, or Unified Threat Management. In network security, what does UTM stand for? Correct answer is Unified Threat Management. In networking cables, what does UTP stand for? Universal Twisted Pair, Unshielded Twisted Protocol, Unshielded Twisted Pair, or Uninterrupted Twisted Pair. In networking cables, what does UTP stand for? Correct answer is Unshielded Twisted Pair. In programming, what does VBA stand for? Virtual Basic Assembly, Visual Basic, Visual Binary Access, or Variable Business Application. In programming, what does VBA stand for? Correct answer is Visual Basic. What does VDE stand for in computing environments? Virtual Desktop Environment, Visual Data Exchange, Virtual Data Engine, or Visual Desktop Engineering. What does VDE stand for in computing environments? Correct answer is Virtual Desktop Environment. What does VDI stand for in virtual solutions? Virtual Data Interface, Virtual Desktop Internet, Virtual Desktop Infrastructure, or Virtual Device Integration. What does VDI stand for in virtual solutions? Correct answer is Virtual Desktop Infrastructure. In network segmentation, what does VLAN stand for? Virtual Local Area Network, Virtual Line Access Network, Variable Local Area Network, or Virtual Long Distance Area Network. In network segmentation, what does VLAN stand for? Correct answer is Virtual Local Area Network. What does VLSM stand for in subnetting techniques? Variable Length Subnet Mask, Variable Length Subnet Masking, Virtual Length Subnet Masking, or Variable Local Subnet Masking. What does VLSM stand for in subnetting techniques? Correct answer is Variable Length Subnet Masking. In computing environments, what does VM stand for? Virtual Memory, Virtual Module, Virtual Machine, or Verified Machine. In computing environments, what does VM stand for? Correct answer is Virtual Machine. What does VoIP stand for in telecommunications? Voice over Internet Protocol, Virtualization over Internet Protocol, Virtualization of Internet Protocol, or Voice over Integration Protocol. What does VoIP or VoIP stand for in telecommunications? Correct answer is Voice over Internet Protocol. In cloud networking, what does VPC stand for? Virtual Public Cloud, Virtual Private Cloud, Virtual Protected Cloud, or Verified Private Cloud? In cloud networking, what does VPC stand for? Correct answer is Virtual Private Cloud. What does VPN stand for in secure communications? Virtual Public Network, Verified Private Network, Virtual Private Network, or Virtual Protected Network? What does VPN stand for in secure communications? Correct answer is Virtual Private Network. What does VTC stand for in corporate communications? Video teleconferencing, visual telecommunication, virtual task conference, or voice telecon circuit? What does VTC stand for in corporate communications? Correct answer is video teleconferencing. Which of the following defines WAF in web security? Web Access Framework, Web Application Firewall, Wide Area Filter, or Website Authentication Facility? Which of the following defines WAF in web security? Correct answer is Web Application Firewall. In wireless networking, what does WAP commonly refer to? Wireless Application Protocol, Wide Area Port, Wireless Access Point, or Wired Access Point? In wireless networking, what does WAP commonly refer to? Correct answer is Wireless Access Point. What is the meaning of WEP in wireless security? Wireless Encryption Protocol, Wired Equivalent Protection, Wireless Equivalent Protection, or Wired Equivalent Privacy? What is the meaning of WEP in wireless security? Correct answer is Wired Equivalent Privacy. What does WIDS stand for in wireless security monitoring? Wireless Intrusion Detection System, Wireless Integration Detection Service, Wideband Intrusion Detection System, or Wireless Interface Detection Suite? What does WIDS stand for in wireless security monitoring? Correct answer is Wireless Intrusion Detection System. Which term best describes WIPS in wireless defenses? Wireless Intrusion Detection Service, Wireless Intrusion Prevention System, Wideband Intrusion Prevention Service, or Wireless Integration Protection Suite? Which term best describes WIPS in wireless defenses? Correct answer is Wireless Intrusion Prevention System. In facilities and maintenance, what does WO typically mean? Work order request, work operation, work order, or work overview? What does WO typically mean in facilities and maintenance? Correct answer is work order. What does WPA stand for in Wi-Fi security standards? Wireless Protection Algorithm, Wi-Fi Protected Access, Wireless Privacy Access, or Wired Protected Access? What does WPA stand for in Wi-Fi security standards? Correct answer is Wi-Fi protected access. What is WPS used for in wireless networks? Wireless provisioning service, Wi-Fi provisioning system, Wi-Fi protected setup, or wireless private setup? What is WPS used for in wireless networks? Correct answer is Wi-Fi protected setup. What does WTLS refer to in mobile security? Wireless transport layer security, web transport layer security, wireless TLS extension, or wireless transport layer security? What does WTLS refer to in mobile security? Correct answer is wireless transport layer security. Which best describes XDR in threat management? Cross detection and response, extended data recovery, extended detection and response, or extreme detection resource? Which best describes XDR in threat management? Correct answer is extended detection and response. What does XML stand for in data interchange? Extensible markup link, exchange markup language, extended markup language, or extensible markup language? What does XML stand for in data interchange? Correct answer, extensible markup language. In logic and cryptography, what does XOR mean? Exclusive on, exchange or execute or? In logic and cryptography, what does XOR mean? Correct answer is exclusive or. What is another name for XSRF in web security? Cross-site request forgery, cross-site resource forgery, cross-site remote forgery, or cross-server request forgery? What is another name for XSRF in web security? Correct answer is cross-site request forgery. What does XSS stand for when discussing web vulnerabilities? Cross-site script, cross-site scripting service, cross-site scripting, or cross-site secure scripting? What does XSS stand for when discussing web vulnerabilities? Correct answer is cross-site scripting. And that is it for this part of the CompTIA Security Plus. This was the acronyms. If you've already watched the rest of the sections, then good luck on your exam, and stay tuned for all the different Security Plus as well as other exam prep materials on the channel.